We hope to be able to make a presentation to the 2014 G20 meeting of world leaders in Brisbane, but it was not to be.
The people who attend these meetings are fixed in their approach, and valuable alternative concepts are not to be tolerated.
We made a video and circulated it, but the video could also not be tolerated. So we decided to let them have their deliberations, then we would analyze their conclusions on the world's future.
Then we include our recommendations. We really hope you have greater understanding of how we should live and greater intelligence than your world leaders and their advisors.
I'm really sorry. The names Adam Smith, Benjamin Franklin and James Watt don't appear on the list. They can't let you speak at the G20. You'll achieve much more if you make a video, as many more people will be influenced by it. Please forgive us, but in the mid-18th century, digital sound recorders were on a 200-year delivery from the factory. We don't know how our participants sounded or looked. No recordings were possible, and flattery of the subject in their paintings was standard. We have made them modern people with convenient accents. The world appears to be in a sorry state, so I decided to invite some successful historical people to tell us what they think. Adam Smith, described as the father of economics, has joined Benjamin Franklin, who is in my view one of the greatest Americans. They have brought along engineer James Watt, whose invention revolutionised the world, and it's worth hearing what they have to say and if it can help in our current predicament. Adam Smith, I believe one of your views was that a country should take its production and use it to satisfy the needs of its own population. Whatever is then left over can be exchanged or sold to other countries.
That's right. This has enormous benefits for the people of the country, creating higher standards of living, jobs and security.
The people of a country work hard to grow or manufacture products. They expect to be rewarded for this.
Ah, now I see you have been reading my book on the wealth of nations. Not only do they want wages, but they expect to get some benefit from their work by being able to purchase their own high-quality product and enjoy its use.
But what happens when their good quality products are exported? They now can't buy them. Often they are replaced by low quality products from other countries.
Hi, I've just arrived in the country. It looks good. I'll let the family know all about it. We'll have a colony here soon.
What seems fair is that a community should have full access to its own products, and the surplus can then be sold to other countries. So we should get higher quality, cheaper products. Today we do it the opposite way. We allow big international companies to take our production and export it so they can make money overseas.
It creates few extra jobs and no increase in the standards of living. We don't even get our own products at a decent price.
We have to pay more than a fair price, and often for much poorer quality. You have to ask yourself if it is worth the bother.
It's called added value and we fully support the concept. On the other hand, if people can't be bothered to increase the value of their products, then someone has to do it.
It appears that many of those in government and local government, and the legislators employed to enact their policies and laws, seem to think their job is first to provide a plentiful revenue from taxes for the government in power, and secondly to supply the powerful with a revenue sufficient for themselves and those who support them. They propose to enrich themselves.
Uncaring business people is nothing new. In my day we had the tobacco barons. These were the most unscrupulous people you could ever come across.
Tax is very complicated, to the extent that the ordinary person just does not know what it means. Tax rates are a complete lie, carefully designed for those who are rich.
The law is structured so that those with high incomes can pay very little tax, and the poor people on wages pay the highest proportion of their earnings. Someone earning 10 times your income may actually be paying less tax than you do.
I asked Adam Smith about the huge amount of debt throughout the world. His view is that when a country takes on debt, it has little thought of ever repaying it.
The interest charged has to be paid by the general public through various forms of taxation. It makes everyone poorer.
This practice of printing more money has been the most usual expedient by which a real public bankruptcy has been disguised under the appearance of a pretended payment. A pretended payment of this kind spreads the debt over everyone, because their money loses value. When the government prints money, the public become poorer.
A great number of innocent people, perhaps most of the population, end up paying for the actions of these inconsiderate and foolish business people. Most major countries are totally and utterly bankrupt. We are facing a calamitous future.
So we go on, borrowing money to meet the great schemes of the politicians, and making each of us poorer by the process. If those same people were to benefit from the spending of the money, it might do some good. We should always remember that for everyone who benefits, they and many others pay in different ways. In many cases, money is borrowed so it can be given to the general public in some form, to spend and increase the sales of goods and services.
The shopkeepers benefit and it keeps them afloat. But people may spend their money on goods made in overseas factories, not in those of their own country. We may have new clothes or a new car, but our children will be paying for them through government debt for the whole of their own lives. If a country has been in perpetual debt for a very long time, then the only responsible thing to do, and what is in the best interests of the nation, is to declare bankruptcy. That stops the rot and allows the country to start afresh without debt. If enough countries decide to simultaneously declare bankruptcy, then there will be difficulties for a short time, but they will normalize. The problems will be considerably less than trying to service a debt that is completely unserviceable. That plagues us every day of our lives.
As one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, Ben Franklin was one of those rare people who can do almost anything and do it well. He was known as the only American president who was never the American president. He invented bifocal glasses and various electrical devices. He was a politician and a diplomat. As a printer and publisher, he championed freedom of speech. He signed the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. He made 3 lengthy trips to Europe, covering many years of his life. Perhaps, Ben, this is an opportunity to help the youngsters by passing on your own feelings on performing in front of an audience.
Don't be scared of the composer. Don't be scared of the conductor. Watch the audience arrive, sense their attitude, then play your heart out to give them what they want. They are the only ones who matter.
Ben refused to take patents on his inventions, preferring anyone could utilize them to improve the quality of life for the people. The things he said and published were purportedly some of the main factors that produced the American character of the time. Take a look at the things he felt were important.
Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn. Many people die at 25 and aren't buried until they are 75. We are all born ignorant, but one must work hard to remain stupid. If everyone is thinking alike, then no one is thinking. The Constitution only guarantees the American people the right to pursue happiness. You have to catch it yourself.
Ben sees the problems today being that the new religion is called profit. Everything is subservient to profit. With profit comes power, and it is the contraction of the power into a few hands that is contrary to the views Ben expressed.
I am aware of Lord Acton's observation, nearly a century after my own thought, that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men was his view. Some of us are grateful he inserted the words almost always. It gives us hope history will not include us in the generalization. I can relate to his observations, which is why the American colonies fought to separate themselves from the corruption of the British. Yet today, I see the same corruption in current Americans. We assemble parliaments and councils to benefit from their collected wisdom, but we also receive their collected passions, prejudices, and private interests. Judging by their acts and laws for regulating commerce, an assembly of great men is the greatest fool upon earth.
Ben Franklin, you are quoted as saying in your final public speech in the Federal Convention that you did not entirely approve the Constitution. But you consented to the Constitution with all its faults because you thought a general government necessary and felt that it was as near to perfection as was possible at that time. You believed it would probably be well administered for a number of years, but could only end in despotism once the people had become so corrupted they would need despotic government as they would be incapable of any other.
That's right. The Constitution was formed by people of integrity, but now it seems it is being deformed by people with absolutely no integrity.
If you want to improve the representatives, then you need to adequately educate them. Why don't you get the big universities to run master's degrees in incompetence? Then we can see it when it appears.
The Constitution he worked so hard to help produce is just a piece of paper that the power brokers use to circumvent its ideals and satisfy their own greed. The Bill of Rights is used not to do the right thing, but to substantiate doing the wrong thing. Freedom of speech, which he valued so much, was not designed as a vehicle for causing harm and distress to so many. In any society, the most important word in the dictionary is reasonable. Only really stupid or corrupt people would interpret a document produced to satisfy the needs of a society well over 200 years ago in the absolute sense instead of the reasonable sense.